Hey y'all, Rick Sky here back again for another isolation walk. So if you're watching this and this is live, you can type and we can interact in real time. Just want to chat about good stuff, chat about getting out, getting some exercise, my horrible haircut, but at least it's short, you know. It's one thing you got to say about it. But yeah, hope everybody is not just surviving, but I hope y'all are thriving during these unprecedented times, and hopefully we'll have some good stuff to celebrate here soon, because this is getting out of control. Well, it's not getting out of control; it has gotten out of control. But yeah, um, ton of pollen out here. Got all these trees and all kinds of itchy stuff, and that's another thing. You get outside, you go for a walk, and then you have a sort of evergreen tree or evergreen plant. So yeah, we got ants out here. Stung by some ants. Probably not as bad as catching the you know what, but yeah, yep. Just keeping this cardio going, because if you don't keep the cardio going, you will regret it when this quarantine period ends. Not something you want to have to deal with is having to lose a ton of weight. I mean, ultimately, probably all going to have to lose weight because staying in quarantine, regardless of whether or not you got a treadmill or other workout gear. If you're in quarantine, you're probably going to get fat because you're probably eating a bunch of junk, and maybe if it's not all junk, you're mixing junk in with it because part of the food consumption is due to being cooped up, and what better way to make yourself feel good while you're cooped up than to snack on some junk. Hello, Philip, is it Philip or Philippe? You're the one that messaged me about St. Martin. Probably a good thing you didn't go during these unprecedented times, man. But hopefully, oh, from France, very cool. Anguilla, that's right. You messaged me about Anguilla. Definitely, when things calm down, Anguilla is definitely a place you want to go. I wouldn't just do Anguilla. I would do Anguilla, and then I would go over to St. Bart's and St. Martin. So depending upon how long you're there, see what I did. I stayed in St. Martin on the east end, over on the French side. Just rented a cheap rental. It was basically a guy's basement, but it was detached from the house, so it wasn't creepy. Oh man, Queens. I feel your pain, man. Hopefully you're staying quarantined and staying well, because yeah, St. Martin's awesome, dude. Have, if you haven't been to St. Bart's though, um, Anguilla's cool. Anguilla is completely different than St. Martin. It's all flat, but the beaches are incredible. But if you go to St. Bart's, what I'd recommend, and again, this is on the cheap, but St. Bart's is insanely expensive. So when you go out to eat, I know there was one meal, went out with my wife to Eden Rock, and they had the this is on St. Bart's. They had the upper restaurant, which is called On the Rocks. That's that famous restaurant that's on St. Bart's on the little rocky point. And then down below at Eden Rock, they had Sandbar. Well, we ate at Sandbar because it was a little less expensive than On the Rocks. And by the way, the food was incredible. But for my wife and I mean, we spent a few $100s for that one dinner. Yeah, Anguilla is not as expensive as St. Bart's. St. Bart's is just, I mean, you can do, let's put it this way, you can do St. Bart's on a budget. What I would do is I would stay at it's a boutique hotel, which saying that makes it sound expensive, but the reality is it's not. The one place I would stay on St. Bart's is a prime location. It's a family-owned hotel, been run for many years, and they've kept the prices down. It's called Le Village, Leviillage. And that's on St. Bart's. That place is hard to beat, man. If you stay on St. Bart's, even if you don't stay the entire time, do Le Village. Yeah. Now in Anguilla, we went really low rent on Anguilla, and I would not recommend where we stayed on Anguilla just because, I mean, it was so cheap. Now it's a great spot, and it's yeah, I'll have to look it up on my YouTube channel when I'm not walking. But it was on Rendezvous Bay on Anguilla. It used to be, apparently, it used to be a nice, higher end hotel. And I think they were trying to sell it. I don't know what was going on, but when we went there, it was just kind of there's a place you stayed, and it's like, man, this beach is wonderful. But it's like things are, undergoing construction, and there's light fixtures missing and that kind of stuff. And I'll have to pull up the name of it here in a minute, but it was a good place, and I think it was just a little bit over $100 a night. 135 a night is really good, man. You can get that for a decent place. I mean, look at it this way: whether you're doing Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's, or all of them, if you've got a springboard to sleep in, you're not going to be in your room anyway. So as long as it's clean and you can get out and get about, yeah, I would never do 500 a night. That's ridiculous. The most I'll spend, and again, I do vacation rentals. The most I will spend per night is around $200 US. And optimally, I like to go where you're talking, around the 130, between the 100 and 150 mark per night. And yeah, I think, you get it for that. That's good. And then you'll be able to get out and explore all the beaches. Yeah, yeah. Oh well, yeah. You keep it as low as you can, man. But Anguilla, the thing you'll like, you can check out my videos. But like Meads Bay, there's just so many beaches. I'm trying to remember the names of all of them. I mean, there's Meads Bay was one of the big ones. Tons of good food on Anguilla. I mean, it's the thing that makes Anguilla different than St. Martin and St. Bart's is number one, Anguilla is more of a, let's just call it a real island vibe. There's a lot of locals there. Everybody's nice. Definitely take the boat out one day and go to Sandy Island. I know it was rocked pretty hard by the hurricane, but that's you go to a place called Sandy Ground on Anguilla. To get from Anguilla to, Brad, are you excited about the DJI drone? Yes. Yep. If the drone releases on 27th, I'll have it unboxed and pre-order, unboxed and reviewed ASAP. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, to get to Anguilla, what you would do is fly into St. Martin, Princess Juliana International Airport, and then you drive over, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. Yeah, the Mavic Air 2. Now, I've heard a lot of rumors, man, Brad, about the Mavic 3. I have a feeling Mavic Air 2 is going to be middle ground between, kind of between Mavic Mini and Mavic 3. It'll be interesting. See what it brings. I'm excited. But yeah, to get from St. Martin, I do it the cheap way. And I can't remember, to get from St. Martin to St. Bart's, I took a ferry out of a place called Oyster Pond. How much was a round trip ticket? The ferry from Oyster Pond, and this was a boat, so this was a ferry from Oyster Pond, St. Martin to St. Bart's to Gustavia and St. Bart's, and it's been a few years, but I think off the top of my head, I'm thinking it may have been around. It wasn't bad. I think it was around maybe 75 US each way per person. It may have been less. It may have been a little bit more, but it wasn't bad. Now, if you want an adventure, get the get you. Oh man, it's a decent boat ride. But I mean, it wasn't rough. But again, I'm a big boater. But yeah, there are some decent sized swells at sea. But the ferry has an inside part. If you know, if you don't want to sit outside, we sat outside the entire time for the view and didn't have any problems. The trip from on the ferry from St. Bart's, from St. Martin to St. Bart's was approximately, and I can't remember the time because I've been drinking some rum. It was around an hour or so. I mean, it wasn't bad. Now, if you want to do, you can get one of those local airlines. When I say airline, it's like basically the size of a Cessna. You can hop in that at Princess Juliana um, and fly over to St. Bart's. And I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to do it the next time down. And that's super cool because St. Bart's doesn't even have. Uh, no, I think the ferry, the boat, I think it was around $75 each way. I can't remember. The plane, I haven't checked. The plane's not expensive, but I mean, again, you'll be on a little Cessna type deal, and when you land in St. Bart's, because their airport, their runway's so short, and check out my video. I've got a video of of the airport in St. Bart's. Those airplanes fly right over the mountain, clear it by about 5 feet, and then they drop rapidly and land. So, you know, all the rich yachties that are going to St. Bart's, they're on their yacht. They can't take their jets down there because jets can't land on St. Bart's because the runway's too short. So the only way to get there is these little prop job planes. And but I would recommend that. That's what I want to do the next time. Just get really boozed up um, at the St. Martin Airport, and and yeah, I'll shoot you a link here in a second. Actually, on my just look at my St. Bart's playlist, St. Bart's video playlist. I've got them all in there. I think the name of the ferry was Voyager. Yeah, you could do one way by ferry and one way by plane. That'd be cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool area. I would definitely do that. Um, we only spent full disclosure on St. Bart's. Only spent one night because we knew it was going to be insanely expensive. But really, when we go back, I want to stay a week because I know the tricks. I know how to get the cheap food. I know how to get the cheap booze, and I know how to get the cheap place to stay. Yeah, you can bring your luggage. We brought our luggage. We took all of our luggage because we went to, to the hotel. Yeah, now keep in mind, cheap food on St. Bart's means going into the grocery store down by the airport, and and just stocking up on stuff there. I mean, if you want to, I mean, here's the thing: when I go to these places, yes, I want a few really good. Yeah, yeah, chef. You are a chef. That's awesome, man. A French chef. That was one of the best things on St. Martin. And we splurged on a lot of really good French food there. There was one of the restaurants it was on Orient Beach. It was called La Table des Antoine or Antone. I probably mispronounced that because I'm not French, but it was some incredible French cuisine. Now, if you did stay at La Village, Table Antone, that's it. It was a good restaurant. Did you go there? In that outdoor food court area, really cool. Yeah, but yeah, La Village, they had complimentary breakfast every morning, and they brought out this bread, really good French bread, and all kinds of. It was just a continental breakfast, but it was included with the hotel. So we ate breakfast for free, and then for lunch, because we were only there one night, and for lunch went to the little grocery store, and no, actually we didn't go to the grocery store for food because I splurged and we sat down at this place on the famous beach. I've got video of it, but it was just really expensive. It was really good, but I think for lunch and a few drinks, I think we spent a few $100s. Saint Bart, Saint Bart, Saint Martin Anguilla. I had the Phantom 4, and I think that would have been, was that 2016 or 2017? It'll tell you check out my video playlist. I've got one for Anguilla, St. Bart's, and St. Martin, and whatever the dates are there, that's when I was down there. But yeah, I mean and that was before the hurricane, so that'll give you an idea of how long ago that was. But yeah, I mean, I would say out of those three islands, Anguilla is the most affordable. And Anguilla just has beaches everywhere. And I remember, and I can't remember the name of the beach off the top of my head, but it was kind of at the other end of the island. And we went outside and sat down in a chair, and they had these really good appetizers, all kinds of good seafood and frozen drinks, and it didn't break the bank. Now, and St. Bart's is insanely expensive. St. Martin is right behind St. Bart's. And then Anguilla is just a totally different ballgame. Anguilla's kind of a budget island. Yeah, St. Bart's is worth seeing. And I mean, when you go there, and that was the thing, I thought it was going to be like, who's this dude, rolling up in St. Bart's, because I'm not the, I'm trying to think of the word, not to be offensive, but, I'm not the uppity, arrogant, yachty type. So, not to say that all yachties are uppity and arrogant, but, that's kind of, before I went to St. Bart's, I'm like, I'm rolling up in Gustavia, and I'm here with all these arrogant people, and that wasn't the case. I didn't run into any arrogant people there. Do I need to? We did 9 nights, and so we did one night on Anguilla, one night on St. Bart's, and then 7 nights in Cul-de-sac, which is right across from Pinel Island on the French side of St. Martin. So, that was really not enough time, especially since we hit all 3 islands. What I would do if I was going to do Anguilla, and if I was going to do Anguilla and St. Bart's, since you've already done St. Martin, I would do, if you can get 2 weeks, that'd be optimal. Take you the bulk of those 2 weeks and stay on Anguilla, and then maybe go over to St. Martin for 3 nights or so, because unless you're just drowning in cash. I mean, if you stay too long in St. Bart's, unless you, like you said, you're a chef, and watch out for dog poop. I mean, just stay a few nights in St. Bart's. I mean, I regret that we only stayed one, but that was long enough for me to get a lot of videos and take that video content, monetize it, and start saving up for my next trip to St. Bart's. And when I go back, I know where everything is, because I know if I want to eat cheap, I know where I can go to a grocery store and get cheap liquor and cheap food. And if I want to go out and splurge and have just a 5-star meal, I know where to do that. So, I didn't know which island is bigger. St. Martin's the biggest, Anguilla is the second biggest, and St. Bart's will be the third. So St. Bart's the smallest of those islands. And yeah, I mean it is again an incredible place. And the thing that St. Bart's makes St. Bart so cool is that it's it's got mountains and that sort of stuff, whereas Anguilla is pretty much completely flat. And then St. Martin, you've kind of got a mix, but St. Martin is mostly flat with a little bit of mountainous area. So St. Bart for any of the islands, yes. So for Anguilla, and I think I posted a video. There's a guy when you get off the ferry. So to get to Anguilla, to do it cheap, I think it was called the Nikki, Nikki, or Niki. It was just a cheap ferry that the locals take, and we took that from the side of St. Martin. I think it was called Marigot was a town, but it was a straight. And then when you get off the dock, the ferry dock in Anguilla, there's a guy there, and I'll have to get his name, and shoot me a message. And when I'm not live, I'll send you all these links. But I think it was called Andy's Car Rental, or his name was Andy. Just a really nice. Yeah, I was on the Dutch side. Really nice guy. He met you right at as soon as you walked through customs after getting off the ferry dock in Anguilla. He met you right there at his little car rental shop and gave you the car. We rented what's it called, a Pugo or whatever, Pugot, Pugot. Rented that nice car. Didn't break the bank. I forget how inexpensive it was. Now in St. Bart's, you also need a car, but if you stay at La Village, ask them for the car and room rental discount. And the way it worked on St. Bart's, when we walked off of the ferry, yeah, Pujo. When we walked off the ferry in Gustavia, our guy was there. He had the car. He's like, hey, he drove us around. We drove to the hotel, and he dropped us off with the car and the keys. On St. Bart's, we had a Mini Cooper convertible. Drove around and it was a cool thing to do. Having that convertible on St. Bart. So, yeah, man. Well, that's exciting, and I tell you, I am bummed, and I know we all are with with the stuff that's going around. And I tell you, I'm ready to travel. Irish Guys Adventure Channel does a big trip every year. The car rental in St. Bart's, actually, it wasn't. And again, I bundled it through La Village. Didn't go through TripAdvisor or anything. Just went to La Village's website, and it was a super good deal. I forget how much. And I mean, I am cheap as they come, and I'm proud to say that. But so with exception of your Mavic 2, except the extremely expensive lunch, it was worth every penny, and the extremely expensive dinner that was worth every penny. I mean, you can go down to that little grocery store by the airport, get you some rum, just get the local stuff. I think I drank some Haitian rum. It was good. I mean, but it was cheap. And I mean, that's the thing, man. I mean, you can do pretty much anywhere on a budget. I mean, you can roll up in, one of the most expensive. I'm traveling on my feet, Ken. You can roll up in one of the most expensive travel destinations in the world, which St. Bart's is among that group of destinations. You can roll up in there and nickel and dime yourself and have a good time. Drive around your rental car, pull up on the same beaches in your affordable rental car that the yachties are being tendered to with their dinghy. Just live it up and don't break the bank. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, so many people are afraid of being cheap, and they're like, man, I'm embarrassed to be so cheap. But I will tell you, if I was embarrassed to be so cheap, I wouldn't have all these YouTube videos. And I get those videos because, yeah, you don't want to go too cheap. You don't you don't want to be flicking the fleas off of your pillow at night. I mean, that's and I did make one mistake, and always be sure anywhere in the Caribbean, always be sure that you have air conditioning, because if your rental doesn't say that it has air conditioning, it probably doesn't have air conditioning. And I made that mistake in the early days of Caribbean adventures and stayed high in the hilltops. It was in the jungle canopy. Yep, AC. You got to have that, because I was in the jungle canopy on St. Thomas, overlooking Maggins Bay. Incredible spot. But rolled up, and this was an interesting trip because went down there with my wife. We got out of the airport and got to the rental car part of the airport towards the afternoon. Last flight of the day that arrived in St. Thomas. And our rental car place said, "Oh, we're out of rental cars." And we're like, "Excuse me?" "Yeah, we're out of rental cars." It was a big United States rental car chain. I said, "Now, how could that be? We had it reserved." I said, "Oh, well, we're closing in 10 minutes. Long story short, what happened is we didn't have a ride. So we arrived at Cyril E. King Airport in St. Thomas. Never stayed locally. This was our first time to do a vacation rental in St. Thomas. So we were fresh off the vacation rental adventure. We're stuck in an airport. Yeah, we've got a daughter. She was staying at home with our parents. Well, we didn't have a daughter at the time. But yeah, so we're stuck at the airport. We don't know where our vacation rental is. It's on the other side of the island, high in the jungle canopy, overlooking Maggins Bay. So we call the owner, and obviously that's not, pickup and delivery to your vacation rental is not part of the deal. I mean, we're staying bargain basement here. Check out the review on my channel, by the way. It's called $1 Million View, St. Thomas. Great place, great owner. But so we didn't have a rental car. That was one of the first important lessons learned about Caribbean travel. Never use the big chains. If you're a business person and you've got a ton of rental car points banked, never use those in the Caribbean. Never. Only uh, only rent from the local outfits. St. Thomas, the only rental car I would use would be um, it's called Discount Car BI, not to be confused with the international chain Discount Car Rental. Discount Car BI, I've used them about 4 times. Yeah, don't use the chains like those. But Discount Car Rental BI, local outfit, they pick you up at the front of Cyril E. King Airport in St. Thomas in your Jeep. They drop you off at Cyril E. King Airport in your Jeep. Super convenient, super friendly family that owns it. I have ranted and raved on social media about how good the Jeep rental experience was from them, and I won't use anybody else. That's also applicable for St. John, like you mentioned. So when we go to St. John, we always rent from Discount Car BI and then ferry the Jeep over to St. John. Now, back to the St. Thomas thing, talking about air conditioning. So we were staying, we didn't have a ride. The big American car rental chain was out of cars, they said, and they were closing up. So we're stranded. Called the owner of the rental, and we're like, well, hate to do this because we know this isn't part of the deal. We just rented your place, basically this guy's basement that was detached. And, we understand that this isn't, but he sent his friend. So he sent his friend in a small cab, not extended cab pickup truck. We don't know this guy. We don't know where we're going. We get in his truck. Hey, tech for your needs, welcome aboard. We get in his truck. He's driving us out through the jungle. My wife's in the middle. I'm in the side, and the air conditioner didn't work. So we're all crammed in tiny single cab truck. Don't know where we're going. Yeah, we've never had any insurance problems, and they're honest people. They've never tried to ding us with any sort of dents or dings that we didn't create on the vehicle. So, but that is something to be cautious about with some outfits. So yeah, so we finally get to the place, and then I'm like, well, we need to get some water and some food, because potentially the next day we could be stranded without transportation. We didn't know if we were going to get a car the next day. Luckily, we did, and that's when we made the switch the next day, and that was our first time to rent from the local outfit, Discount Car Rental VI, not to be confused with the big chain, the local outfit. So we got that, but I'm like, yeah, if we don't get food, if we don't get water, we're going to be stuck in this apartment or this house, this basement of a house. And that did not have air conditioning. So at night, it was fine because it was in the jungle canopy, but you had to keep the windows open to stay cool. And then, of course, that let all the bugs in. So we had ants and spiders and all kinds of good stuff crawling on us. So, always be proactive and always make sure that, what you're renting has air conditioning. But yeah, I mean, and another good outfit, I don't know if you've been to Providenciales, Turks and Caicos, but when I went to Turks and Caicos, there was a car rental down there. It was called, I think it was Scooter Bob's or Canadian Bob. I can't remember. It was a Canadian family that owned it. They were super nice. Walked out of the airport at Providenciales, walked out into the car parking lot. And they're like, okay. So we walk out there. There's a car that has our name on it. The car had our name on it, and the key was under the mat. So that was the rental car pickup process. Super convenient. We returned it. Super good experience as well. Yeah, I've been to Cayman. We stayed in Rum Point, Grand Cayman. That's the northern part. We stayed there for 9 nights in right next to, it was not Alca Yacht, but it was right next to this big yacht club that had parties every night. It was Rum Point. It was right down the street from that at that big yacht place. So that was a cool place. Cayman, though, I will tell you, man, you're gonna like Anguilla so much more. I mean, Cayman is very nice, but as far as swimmable beaches, there aren't as many swimmable beaches as one might think on Grand Cayman. For the car rental, you contact them always before. So what I do, it depends on where I'm going. If I'm going to Providenciales, if I'm going to Turks and Caicos, I'm going to call my Scooter Bob's Canadian outfit. If I'm going to, Cayman, I've been to the Ritz in the Westin. That's on 7 Mile Beach. Very, very nice. They got those little floating things out in the ocean where you can float and drink. I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, we did on Cayman at Rum Point. We had it was just a little over 100 US a night, and we had 2 bedrooms, a bath, a pool out back that was shared, but it was never anybody else in it except one night. And I mean, we were so boozed up off of rum, it didn't really matter anyway that other people were out there. So they had a grill, got the grill out. Yeah, anytime you get a discount, it's worth taking it, man. And 7 Mile Beach is nice. I mean, there's a lot of people there, but if you're looking, if that's what you want, it's pretty cool. And one thing in Cayman, I don't know if you went out to the West End and did the horseback, but we got on these horses and rode these horses down the beach, and then went out in the ocean on the horse and went out to where it got deep, and the horse was swimming. So, and I got a video of that. So we're on the back of a horse while it's swimming through the ocean, And I was thinking, man, if we fall in, that horse tramples us, we'll die. But we didn't. We made it back alive. But yeah, that was Grand Cayman. You know, cool place. Not much more in Grand Cayman. We had some good meals. We ate at that little place beside us. Yeah, there's not, you know, so you work for Marriott. I'm trying to think, you know where you need to go, man. You need to go to St. Kitts and stay at the Marriott there. There's a really nice Marriott in St. Kitts with a casino. And I've got a recommendation for a car rental in St. Kitts as well. We stayed in St. Kitts. We did a vacation rental and stayed in Basse-Terre. You can check out my videos, my St. Kitts playlist. But that was a cool place. Now, although it was cool, there were times in Basse-Terre where we felt just a little bit unsafe. And I, you know, maybe it was just a fluke, but you know, it was awesome. But yeah, the Marriott in St. Kitts is out towards, if you're heading out towards Reggae Beach, if you see the famous photos from St. Kitts where you go, there's a Caribbean on one side and then the deep ocean on the other, and there's just a road. You can best way to contact me, man, is just go to my facebook.com/IRIX guy and send me a message on there, and I can send you links. Turks and Caicos, I would pit Turks and Caicos over St. Kitts, and the reason being is that the food, and I know you're a chef, the food in Turks and Caicos, Providenciales, there's multiple islands in Turks and Caicos, but stay on Providenciales and stay somewhere in Grace Bay. And man, there are tons of outstanding restaurants, all different types of cuisine, but it is all outstanding. Now, it is on the more expensive side, but it's not the turbo expensive St. Bart's type food prices. Oh yeah, there are some murders in Turks and Caicos. Now, granted, I never felt unsafe in Turks and Caicos, but there was something that people talked about, and allegedly it's where some treasure was at one time. You know, one of those stories. But apparently, a few tourists had gone out there, and they were attacked with submachine guns. So, you just got to be smart, man. If you stay in Grace Bay, you can walk up and down the street. They've got restaurants, they've got jewelry shops, they got a Rolex authorized dealer. It's a nice place. Now, if you get off the beaten path, yeah, I mean, someone could get into trouble most anywhere. But I never felt unsafe in Turks and Caicos. The only time I felt a little bit unsafe is because of weather. It wasn't because of people. But yeah, Grace Bay is definitely the best place to stay in Turks and Caicos. We stayed with, she was a former supermodel. She and her husband, they had a few guest cottages, and they bought a really nice property down there. I don't know if they sold it yet. If they haven't, I can send you the link to it. I don't know. I didn't look at hotels. There are hotels, but I don't. Not hotels like you have in Cayman. You know, that amount. But yeah, I don't know if they still own that, but it was cool. And one thing we learned about Turks and Caicos is that when they have a hurricane, because the island's so flat and small, that everybody just gets on a plane and goes to Jamaica. And then also, they don't have palm trees in Turks and Caicos. So all the palm trees you see there have been brought in. And another cool thing, in Turks and Caicos, if you're not a local, if you work there, if you're an outsider, every year you got to reapply for your job, because if there's someone that's from Turks and Caicos that wants that job, then they're going to get it. Yeah, snorkeling wasn't great in Turks and Caicos. The white sand beaches on Grace Bay, just being able to walk into all those waterfront restaurants and have amazing conch chowder, conch fritters, all kinds of good seafood. I mean, they prepared, as far as chef quality meals, everything in Turks and Caicos was exceptional. Now, one place you may want to check out, and this is seasonal, it's not warm all year round. You may want to check out Bermuda. The food in Bermuda is outstanding. Bermuda is expensive though. The food is very expensive. I would say the food in Bermuda is price-wise close to St. Bart's. From all the islands you talk about, which beaches was the best to your knowledge? The best beach, my favorite beach, is Jost Van Dyke. It's White Bay. It's the home of Soggy Dollar Bar. So to get to Jost Van Dyke, the cheap way, what you would do, either from St. Thomas or St. John, is hop on the ferry, just the public ferry, and it runs normally a few times a week. Check their schedule. They'll take you over to Jost Van Dyke in the morning. They'll pick you up in the afternoon. Jost Van Dyke, Soggy Dollar Bar, outstanding frozen drinks. You can just sit there and drink and drink and drink. You can eat mahi sandwiches. You can eat conch fritters. The food on Jost Van Dyke is good, but this is not. It is a beach. Jost Van Dyke is my favorite beach. It is a beach for being a beach. Although there is food, the drinks there are what are most outstanding. Another spot, and you can access it just by a private charter, is Norman Island. There's a place called, and Norman Island is just a few nautical miles from St. Thomas. Yeah, the water's amazing. Dude, shoot me a message on my Facebook, and I'm going to send you a link to the Jost Van Dyke. But yeah, that's one. Now, as far as natural beaches without a beach bar, bring your own booze. That's St. John, man. Yeah, St. John. Oh, the Soggy Dollar webcam is fun to watch. But St. John is, most of it's a national park. So on St. John, I love Hawks Nest, Cinnamon Bay, Trunk Bay, although Trunk Bay tends to attract the most tourists. But those beaches are cool. What I like about St. John is that you can just load up your cooler and carry it. I mean, don't take glass, but load up your cooler and take it down to the beach and drink on the cheap. And obviously, the food prices in St. John, with it being United States, yeah, the snorkeling in St. John is incredible. You got Maho Beach for right above it. That's on Great Cruise Bay. I've stayed right above the Westin in a house with a pool. You can check out my video of that. It's called the what do they call it? I'll send you a link to it. But it was overlooking the Westin down there in the bottom of Great Cruise Bay. Yeah, and St. John, I don't know if you've been to Morgan's Mango. Outstanding food. They used to have a place called Zozo's in Canil Bay before the hurricane. And I haven't been there yet, but Zozo's has now reopened on a private island that's adjacent to St. John. So you got to take a ferry over. Zozo's is absolutely incredible. If they have the same cooks and the same food that they had when they were located in the old sugar mill at Canil Bay, you will absolutely love that. Some of the best food, I'm trying to think. Bermuda, what sets it apart? The food, yeah, it's expensive there. But yeah, St. John's back to normal. Check out my videos from last year. I was there in September of 2019. So those videos will show you current, give you a current look on how St. John looks. It's in good shape. And so is Jost Van Dyke. Tons of trees. We expected a lot of stuff to be blown down, and it wasn't as bad as we had anticipated. But yeah, Bermuda, you get Bermudian fish chowder, which is like it's like a seafood gumbo, except it's totally different. And you put Black Seal rum, which is Gosling's rum, They call it black seal because it's got a black seal around it. It's not because of the animal on it. A lot of people think it is. We learned that from a Bermudian dude at the mini yacht club in Bermuda. But yeah, the Bermudian fish chowder is great. Really good food. To put you some black seal rum and some sherry pepper sauce in there. And it is it's similar to gumbo, but it's so much different. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. You get gumbo on the Gulf Coast, Florida Panhandle, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and you can get, that's incredibly good with Gulf seafood. But the Bermudian fish chowder, you get all their fresh fish. There we go. Fix that. Had a little connection. We had fresh off the boat mahi and cooked it up literally 5 minutes after it was filleted, and that's incredible. Good thing about Bermuda, if you're into offshore fishing, you don't have to go far at all from Bermuda's East End, where St. George is.